Sometimes I think to myself when I see that bumper, I'm like, that looks like my wife 25 years ago, maybe 35 years ago. Under pressure, the pressure of motherhood. Well, church, we're in this series on under pressure. We're talking to ladies specifically, so please don't be offended. We want to make sure that we spend time talking to our ladies and encouraging them because they're facing incredible pressures. And last week we had a panel up here and we talked about the pressures that women are facing in general. But today we're going to be talking about the pressures of motherhood. And I'll tell you what, there is no greater pressures, amen, women? Oh, you come on, man. The pressures of motherhood are unbelievable. Guys just leave and work. That's what my wife says. She says, you just left. I'm like, I got pressure? She says, no, you have no idea. Is that true, ladies? I think you would all say it is. Titus chapter 2 and verse 3 and 5 says this, older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers or slaves to much wine. They are to teach what is good and to train young women to love their husbands and their children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind, and submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. Because it is clear that our older women should be seeking to share the knowledge that they have with the younger women, I've asked my wife once again to join us as we have a conversation about the pressures of motherhood. I have no idea what that means, honey. I have never had a child. Praise God, men. Although some men are trying nowadays, it's not a good option. I don't know why anybody would do that to themselves. However,
let me make sure I'm on.
Make sure you're on. You on?
Am I on?
Test 1, 2. Well, listen,
Okay. Yeah.
Moms obviously are the mechanism that God has created to nurture and to care for children, and that comes with such incredible pressure. I mean, even me, the pressure of dressing up for Mother's Day. I know you guys noticed, you're like, man, last week wasn't he in a t-shirt? Today I got a tie on, I got a suit on. The only reason is because my mom would slap me if I showed up to Mother's Day without a suit. So I Mom, just so you know, it's for you. Praise God. So, honey, mothers, what do you think?
Well, first of all, we want to say that women in general, we just want you to know how much we appreciate you. And
Amen.
so today, as we think about women and mothers, we want to first say that we acknowledge all the moms who are sleep deprived because you have infants and toddlers. There's the young mom who is trying so desperately to take care of all the things that happen in a child's life, doctor's appointments, dental appointments, getting school projects done. As your children get older, you are praying over your children and asking God to help them find good friends and that they won't leave the faith. But then there's also the grandmas who are out here today who are praying over their grandchildren. There are moms here and women here who are godmothers to other people's children, and you love on them so, so well. There's moms here who will be future moms. They're not a mom quite yet, but they will be one day. And so when we just think about all the women here, we also want to say that there are people who are celebrating this Mother's Day who maybe even lost a mom. And so we just think about all of these moms, every category that women can encompass. And we know that you love on women well, and you love on the children in your lives well, even if they're biological or not. So we just want to say thank you to all the moms. So let's give all the moms a big hand. Yeah, all the women here.
Mothers, God's word has a lot to say about the pressures of motherhood. You can go back from the very beginning and see how sibling rivalries with Cain and Abel to child-parent conflicts between wars. You had single moms. You have children with moms that haven't had children yet are begging God for children. I mean, you see all of this throughout history. However, moms need to keep two things in mind when we're talking today about what it means to be a mother. First is this, that children are from the Lord and for the Lord. Okay, so we want to make sure today as we're talking to you that you always remember that children are from the Lord and for the Lord. Psalms 127:3 says, behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. Like arrows in the hand of warriors are children of one's youth. And secondly, we want you to understand that we are called as women, as a church, as families to train up our children in the way they should go so that when they are old, they will not depart from it. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go.
Yeah. So when we think about women under pressure, last week we focused on women in general, and so this week we're thinking about moms. And moms of infants have the complete care of children, whether it's feeding them, dressing them, bathing them, every aspect of what they do, they are caring for a child. And then, as we said, as moms go into the next phase of life, they are helping with so many tasks, keeping everything going with the household, but still then helping an older child with getting them to lessons and appointments and that kind of thing. And then moms, when you have teenagers, some of the things that you're faced with is technology and dealing with that and helping your child navigate technology, which can be a black hole. It really can be endless in how you have to deal with that. But you're teaching your child how to work hard and hoping to prepare them for when they leave your home. What happens when we think about all of this, especially even now, when we think how young kids are when they get phones and exposure to technology, that you are having to navigate so much with social media, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. There's so many platforms that are vying for your children. And we want to help you as you are thinking about everything that you have to go through. How do you navigate that?
Absolutely. So when we think about what it means to train up a child in the way he should go, Proverbs 22:6, when he is old, he will not depart from it. What does that really look like? You know, training is so much more than simply just raising them in church. It's so much more than just having them here or teaching them a Bible study. Training is all about time management, work ethic, responsibility, purity, character. When we think of training, when we talk about training today, we want you to understand that God's word is so comprehensive as you as a mother in what that looks like to raise your child.
Yeah, so last week, again, we talked about what are pressures that women are facing. So this week, I surveyed our ladies, a lot of you, and I always appreciate those of you who will text me back and kind of reply. But the next question that I asked was, what influences you and what influences your children the most? If you could name one thing, what would that be? Because what we were trying to figure out, hun, is if these are all the pressures that you are facing, what is happening in your life to influence you? Is it positive pressure? Is it negative? And so one of the things that you and I talked about is I was kind of like, hey, hun, help me with all of this. The reoccurring theme that we saw was time management. How do we manage the time that we have within our homes? Because we know that our list to do is never ending. And even if you get all the laundry done, at the end of the day, everybody throws their clothes back in the laundry hamper, and you're just like, really? Could everybody just pretend like those clothes were clean and put them in your drawer? So one day, for 24 hours, I could actually have an empty laundry basket. But that's not how it happens, and we know that, and so our tasks happen every day. And so when you take our never-ending to-do list, and then you factor in, for moms, the responsibility of children, we have to be incredibly wise with our time so that we don't feel so much pressure for everything that we have to do. So when I talk about time management today, one of the things I'm going to say is what I'm trying to encourage you, moms and women, is how do you go from good to great? Okay, because many of you do things so well. So how can you just say, you know what, I'm going to step up my game and I'm going to start taking my time management and go from good to great? How will I live on purpose? How will I live with a mission? How will I live intentionally? And how will I also then teach that to my children? And again, even if you don't have biological children, you influence other people's children. And so how can you teach the children that you are with, whether it's at school or whether you babysit or a nanny, something like that, how can you be purposeful with the children that you influence? So first of all, some of the things we thought about were, what are the things that take up mom's time? And a big factor for what happens is, how does a mom try to have her children involved in other things? So sometimes what can happen is they sign their kids up for basketball, soccer, t-ball, wrestling, ballet, gymnastics, music lessons. There's so many things that kids can be a part of. But what ends up happening is you get stressed out as a mom because your van becomes the drive-through food and probably looks like it with all the crumbs and everything, because you're dashing from thing to thing. But also your children become incredibly stressed out because they too are always going from thing to thing. And so what I want to encourage moms when we think about time management is, don't overschedule your life. Really look at what responsibilities you have, place a value on them, and say, how will I not overschedule my life with all the extracurricular events?
Absolutely. I think men sometimes play into that as well and put the pressure on moms. But do you want to know something? Only 0.03% of kids end up playing professional sports, people.
What was the stat?
0.03%.
0.03.
0.03. That means That's probably not going to happen. But yet sometimes you guys are living the rat race and the craziness of athletics or whatever it is so that your child will be the one. I know you think he's the one, and we all think he's the one too. Not really, but we want to encourage you in that. So how do you deal with that? How do you understand that you're getting distracted? Because the truth is you're 100%, listen, you're 100% responsible for how your child turns out spiritually. You're 100% responsible as a father, as a mother, of what it looks like for your child to be a godly man or a godly woman when they grow up. Ephesians 5:15 says this, look carefully how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, moms, making the best use of your time because the days are evil. Are you distracted by everything that doesn't matter, or are you paying attention what does matter? Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is.
Yeah, so in addition to sports, another thing that when I asked the question, what are things that influence you? A really big one was technology. And we all know that. We all know that screen time is so prevalent. But this is something I really would like you to think about when we think about unpacking the thought of technology, especially phones. In 2019, the average age for a child to have a phone was 14. That was the average age. In 2021, just within 2 years, the average age dropped down to age 11. So the average age that a kid has a phone is age 11. It's almost impossible to buy a phone that does not have internet access. Okay, so think about an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old having a phone that has internet access. Now, I know you're saying we put parental controls on that, on their phone, but I just want to encourage you, type in, can young people hack parental controls? And you'll see all the ways that they do it.
And by the way, they know how to type that.
Oh, faster than we do.
It's amazing.
Their thumbs, you know when you think
God.
about, they say evolution, right? People, the finch in his beak. I think thumbs are going to be doing something. Like they're going to one day look back at people's thumbs and they're going to say, look what happened to these people. They grew longer, double jointed. I don't know, totally random, sorry.
Okay, wow.
Okay. But they're so fast. I'm like, I mess up all the time, but anyhow. So these young people have these phones and they're on them, and the parental controls that you think are working are not working, okay? And the average age for a young person to be exposed to pornography is age 8.
Yeah.
Okay, so take that in, parents, moms, when you are thinking about, oh, I want my kid, that everybody around them has a phone. That's the average age. Teens, in the category of that is age 13 to 17, spend on average 7 hours and 22 minutes a day on their phones for entertainment. Now just try to breathe that in for a second.
When was school?
I don't know.
Oh.
The phone was probably under the desk at some point. Yeah.
Teacher was using the phone.
Maybe. But the whole point is, that is the amount of time that a teen. Now then to take ages 18 to 12-year-olds, and the average that they are on their phone is 4 hours and 44 minutes a day for entertainment. So we as moms need to take this in, because as adults, we spend 5 hours and 24 minutes a day on our phones. So I just want you, as we think about the pressures that we face, sometimes we really have to look at life and say, where are all the time that we have that could be meaningfully spent with our children, and even our lives for getting things done? How much time is being spent on screen times? And a lot of it is an unmonitored screen time. So let's take into account, because I researched and said, what are the negative effects of social media? Because much of the time is spent on, and I'm calling social media TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, watching all the YouTube videos, those kind of things, just all the different platforms that kids get on. In just 1 hour a day, the negative effects are depression, anxiety, the constant comparison that happens, especially when young girls are going out and looking at fashion trends. There's unrealistic expectations that happen because of everything that is viewed on social media. Cyberbullying is a huge issue. Many people, even adults, get cyberbullied, which creates self-harm, even suicide for some teens that are so distraught about what has happened and what has been put out there. There's a term which many of you, I'm sure, know. It's called FOMO, FOMO, fear of missing out. And that is a trend that happened when social media came about because everybody can see what everybody else is doing. And so people are constantly struggling, and teens struggle. They go, was I invited to this party? Am I going to be involved in that? What are my friends doing? I want to be at that. So that's a very real issue for many people. As I mentioned, negative body images, unhealthy sleep patterns, because so many teens take their phones into their room. When our children were growing up, when you walked through the door, your phone went on the counter. Your phone was never allowed to go in the room. But many parents don't have that. And so they have negative sleep patterns because they spend so much time on their phone. And then just general addictions. They said that time on your cell phone is more addictive than cigarettes and alcohol. And so if you're not sure about that yourself, try to go a day without checking your social media accounts. So those are the negative effects, which I know is a lot, and you're like, what? But we're going to reel all this in, so
yeah.
I don't know.
So when we're talking about pressures for ladies, that it's obvious that this pressure to be on the screen is huge. And for their kids to be on the screen is huge. And the battle between that is huge. I mean, I don't know if you have been to a restaurant lately with a family. I've watched some entertaining. I almost feel like videoing them sometimes because all of them have their phones while they're ordering.
See your thumb.
Yeah.
It's going to get double jointed.
Well, remember back in the day we had flip phones.
A, B, C.
Yeah,
They hit it
absolutely.
3. Yeah. We're archaic.
So when we think about church, our mothers who are under all this pressure, I want you to understand that this concept is what you're doing is the time that you're spending stealing the training time, the time that God has allowed you to have to train up your child in the way he should go. It's a great question for you to look at. What is it out there? Because I think a lot of times we're actually allowing our children to be trained by a screen, trained by something else and someone else. And Psalms 1 really kind of talks about this idea. In Psalms 1, it says, "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seats of the scoffer. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. He is like a tree planted by the streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither, and all that he does is prosper." Moms, I want to encourage you. Some of the pressures that you're having to allow your kids to be involved in athletics, to be involved in screen time, is stealing away their joy that when they get old, they will find themselves not planted next to a river of water, i.e. the Word of God, Christ himself. You're going to have them stranded or drawn away by every other thing in the world. And so I know that you're under a lot of pressure, but this pressure sometimes comes because of these kind of things.
Yes. So another way that we lose time with our children is through video games. And a lot of time is spent on that. In 2020, which was the start of the pandemic, so it's even higher now, but I couldn't get really good, consistent stats. But 40% of adolescent boys and 20% of adolescent girls play video games at least 3 hours a day. And when it comes to adults, the average gamer plays 5 hours a day. So temporarily, moms, you see that, if I could just set my child down in front of a screen and let them watch a video real quick or play their video game so that I can get something done or I can have a moment of peace and quiet. But what's happening is it's working against you. And that's what I guess I'm really, really hoping that you will see is that it's a temporary solution, but it's creating more problems in the long run. Because again, the negative effects of gaming are sleep habits because they stay up so late playing. And this can be with adults as well. Kids who play video games are more aggressive. They are socially isolated and they are socially anxious. Because they spend so much time alone, when they are with a group of people, they become socially anxious. They have lack of motivation. They do worse in school. They have poor time management skills. They have a greater conflict, interpersonal conflict in relationships that they have. And all you have to do is think of a mom. If you tell your child, you get off your game, what happens? Are they like, oh, yes, Mom, absolutely, I'll do that right away? Probably not. Probably many of them moan and groan, and it causes a lot of friction. There's obesity and heart problems that result because so much time is spent. Even suicidal thoughts because of all the violent content that is ingested as they are, just brainwashing themselves. So I know somebody here could probably argue the benefits. Well, their fine motor skills are so much better. I'm sure that you could. But I also want to fast forward because, again, moms, we have training ground with our young people. So I just want to fast forward this young person that you have that plays video games, and now they're in adulthood, okay? And I'm just telling you, if some of you could sit with us when we listen to husbands and wives talk about struggles and the division that gaming creates in marriages is huge. And so you don't, or maybe just not realizing or thinking, what is the long-term ramifications of this? So even people in adulthood have higher levels of depression, anxiety, and aggression, and they are more likely to neglect their social life, their career, their family, and their own physical and mental well-being because of the time spent gaming. And much of that happens, moms, where we are right now in our training ground for our kids, the screen time, the video games, all the things that we emphasize in the lives of our children. So I think one of the other things I read, hon, that really surprised me is it said hours and hours are spent playing video games, and they kind of become numb to everything that they're doing. So then what happens is they turn to pornography to get this boosted high for a little bit, and then the cycle just repeats itself. So I never put together just how influential screen time can be and what is happening. Now, the world knows that. Satan knows that. He's being very intentional to ensnare your child. So what we have to do as moms is look at what are we allowing when we think, I just give my kids some screen time so that they can do something. But what is it what patterns are we establishing in their lives?
Yeah. I think moms, and we think about the pressures that you're under and the frustrations that you're under, and we do try to get out of some of those pressures by screen time. Yesterday we were on a plane with a lady who was just sharing a little bit about her frustration about her son, and basically my son, he can't stop playing video games, and my wife's like, you're the parent, you could say no. The lady literally did not know what to say. She's like, really? Like she had to be given permission to say no. She says, well, I take it away every once in a while. I'm like, you can actually just throw the whole game system away if you're not getting what you want. Anyway, it's just fascinating how parents think. Moms think. Moms actually think they need permission. Like, you can do that?
I'm so grateful that she was stopping in Seattle. I'm so grateful she doesn't live in Alaska, and we hopefully would not encounter her again.
She was sitting, next to us for the rest of the flight. I think that, ladies, what we want you to know today as we're talking about pressure is that you have the power somewhat in your time management and your pressure to alleviate pressure because you're mom. I'm going to give you authority. You're mom.
Yeah.
Your job is to train your children, not the world, not the world's rules, not the rules that they play by. You're mom. And you got to say yes or no. Do you understand that authority? That's exciting authority, that's right. Our time is flying, by the way. Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8 says this, see to it that no one takes you captive by philosophies of empty deceit, according to human traditions, according to the elements of the spirit of the world, and not according to Christ. Moms, this is what we're talking about. Do not allow your kids to be stolen away by philosophies that are not true. They're not yours. They're not biblical, and they're not biblical in character, because that is exactly why moms find a lot of their time under pressure.
Yeah. So I just want to challenge moms, really I do. Before we leave this, okay, Crystal, you've told us that. But I really want you to think about something that you can do. And so I would just challenge you. How can you put a screen time challenge for everybody in the home, yourself included? And maybe it's a sit down with your children and say, listen, this is even how mom realizes I spend some of my time. And so I'm going to even limit my time. When I was asking moms for tips, one of them said, I set the timer on my phone so that I cannot spend more time in social media. And so you can set those parent control for yourself. How novel is that? But anyhow, you can even set that for yourself, that will limit your time that you spend on social media. But decide that for your children. Set something up that you will that you will realize this is what we need to do. Maybe it's a complete fast. I mean, you'll say for a whole week, we are not going to spend time on social media. But this is something to know. If you hear that and you think, oh, I don't know how I do that. That shows you what level social media is playing in your own life. And if your child pitches a fit, you're going to realize, wow, look how social media, look how video games are controlling my children's life. And we are not to be controlled by the flesh. We're to be controlled by the Spirit. So after you take that time and just say, we are not going to spend this amount of time on social media, screen time, whatever it is that you guys are all affected by, and dads, maybe even it's TV for you. Ouch. Okay, so I'll keep moving. Okay, but then I would like to encourage you, break down your tasks, because we talked to you guys, moms, and you guys said, these are all the pressures of things that I have. But I want you to take a list of things that you have to do. And I'm just going to give this example of laundry, okay? Take your list of laundry and say, are my children old enough to bring their laundry bucket to the laundry room? If they are, moms, you assign that task to them. If they're not, you get the laundry buckets. But listen, the little kids, you can have them help sort. Socks, find your socks. Put socks in this pile, jeans, whatever, however you sort your laundry, they can be involved in that. Maybe you have to put the laundry in, but then they can help move the laundry, and as you're taking it out, teach a little one colors. This is the blue shirt, green pants, whatever. You can incorporate your children in what you're doing. Even a 2-year-old, I had my little Riley the other day. She's not even 2. I had her helping me fold washcloths, just folding them in half. Clayton was folding towels in half, and then, my point is you can incorporate your children, and you need to teach them. That's the important part. So take the time that you are saying, I'm overwhelmed with these tasks. I'm going to get rid of some of our social media time, and I'm going to look at my life and say, what are tasks I have to do weekly, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, and break them down. What can my children help me be doing? Because if you will teach them and train them when they're little, 2, 3, 4, it's exciting to them. They're happy to be a part of it. And as they continue to get older, they then know how to do those tasks. They're doing those tasks, and then you, mom, are free to do the things that only you can do. Whatever it is, pay the bills, whatever, when you made a list of things that you have to do. The idea behind that, though, is you don't have to be a perfectionist, mom. I'm just going to tell you, put away your perfectionism, because your perfectionism will create lazy children. Okay? And so, but the shirts will come out wrinkly. It's okay. If your child folds a shirt and it's wrinkly, it made it into the drawer. Be happy about that and teach your children, because you don't want lazy children. So I think I would want to say that. And I don't say all these things to insult. I think sometimes moms maybe are just not realizing all the things that their children can do. Their list is very long, but your children are a blessing to you. They can help, make it fun for them to help you. And the idea is that you're teaching them young to be a part of the family. They like to contribute to the family, and it alleviates a little bit from you. So.
That's good. That's good. I don't know. There's a lot of pressures on moms, but I do think that when we think about the value as a pastor, I think about your homes. I pray about your homes, and I think those are places that should be a place of peace, a place of training, a place of joy. And when you find yourself so busy doing all the things the world tells you have to do, it really does distract and tear apart your family, and you don't even realize it's happening. You think you're just getting through a day, but in reality, you're setting yourself up for a future of frustration. One of the things I want moms to all understand is that your kids will be wives or husbands one day. I know that's hard to think about, trust me. All 3 of mine now are married, and I look back and I think, what did I do wrong with them?
But you did a lot right.
No, yeah, well, like I said, there are some things I think to myself, I thought we trained them as good as, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So it's a constant battle. But the truth is that training matters, and training needs to be part of what you're doing. Take this time when you remove some of the busyness of life and start to do things that are valuable to relationship building. How do you have games together, or walk outside together, or help community? Like on the 22nd, we go do things to serve people. Use this time that now all of a sudden you have to actually do the work of the kingdom that then draws them into that exact same thing. Yeah.
So the other thing that mom said really greatly influences them is other women. They said they are very, very influenced by other women. And so, again, we take all the pressures that moms feel to be the best, to do it right, to feel I want my children to turn out right. I want them to love the Lord. And we take that and then we say, wow, who influences you? other women. And maybe it's a mom, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's women that you live in community with. But the idea is, women, you influence other women. And so I just really want to encourage you to take that pressure and turn it into a good thing. Turn it into something that motivates you, so that when you are thinking about who are the women around me, how are you living your life? How are you trying to encourage the women that are around you? Are you living in such a godly way, and you're living authentic, that you can be an encouragement to that other mom who feels pressure and is looking to you? She doesn't need to see a perfect mom. She just needs to see a mom who's authentic and who is striving to love the Lord and teach her children to love the Lord. And so I just want, again, that's not to heap pressure on moms, but it's a good tension to call your attention to, is that moms and women are looking to other moms to say, how do you do this? How do you live life, and how do you do things well? So I think that's something good for us to recognize as women, is that that's a big responsibility for us.
Absolutely. And as we're closing up here, I want you to know that this entire series, as you can tell, is bent around this idea of older women teaching younger women. What does that look like? What would it mean for you to learn to deal with the pressures of life by teaming up with someone who's been there and has done that? In the Word, we hear the story of Mary and Elizabeth, and Mary and Elizabeth both had these supernatural births. They had these encounters, obviously Mary with God, and Elizabeth getting this child late in life. And what did they do? Mary goes to Elizabeth and starts to engage with her and spends 3 months with her as she's preparing for what is about to happen, this incredible supernatural story. And I think that we as men and we as mothers, we don't realize, you as mothers, don't realize that the benefit is found in our older women. And I think we've kind of given our older women a little pass by not encountering and asking the tough questions and engaging in what that looks like. And so I would encourage you, as we think about this series and we think about the pressures of women and children, women and mothers, I just want you to know something. As a pastor, there is just some things I can't help you with that my wife can help you with. There's just something that comes from a godly woman who's pouring into the life of a younger woman that is priceless. So we need to be a church that pours into our younger women as well.
Yeah. So that is true. Yes. And I hope that moms and older women will. So as I gave you a challenge with screen time and looking at your life, the challenge that I give to our young moms is, we are wanting you to live life in community. We want you to surround yourself with other godly women. So I ask my mom, because it's so incredibly special to me to have my mom living life with me and my daughter and our sweet baby Emberly. We have 4 generations here. And I am incredibly blessed to live life like this right here. But there's a mom who is sitting here who does not have that sweet community. And so we want you to know that we have things like 907 Moms. That's where you can come and sit with other moms who are struggling, or maybe not even struggling. They just want to be an encouragement to you too. And there's mentor moms who sit there with you and encourage you in life. We have Moms in Prayer, which we had our big women's event, and we had our Moms in Prayer president here with us. And so anyhow, you can be a part of a Moms in Prayer group. You can go online to our website at abt.church/women and see what kind of things are available. But there will also be some different things going on throughout the summer. There's a fireside chat, and there's Together Tuesdays. So don't live life alone. We have women here who want to live life with you. And like I said, I'm incredibly blessed to have my mom and my daughter and my sweet baby, her sweet baby Emberly, my grandbaby, here. And so that's our encouragement to you, that you would see this and say, I can have that, because there are women around me who love me and want to see that in my life.